Hello, universe. How are you today? So, got a few things I want to get up on my pedestal of. See, I had this all planned out when I was in the bathroom. Wait, that was an overshare. I didn't need it that way. I was putting on my gear. Never mind. So, the point was that I said, I'm going to go in, get on the elliptical, and say, I'm about to get up on my pedestal and sprinkle a little sense. So, now that I've ruined the moment, always do that. I love you, baby. Especially that big old butt. Alright. I'm not allowed to talk to people anymore today. So anyways, I want to talk about a couple of things. I never imagined I would be talking about sports as much as I am. But I want to talk about a couple of things with A-Rod and Riley Cooper. I don't have much to say about A-Rod. But the Riley Cooper thing, if you haven't heard, he made a racial slur towards a person of dark skin tone. What was it? Keith Urban? I can't remember what it was. I think it was a Keith Urban concert or something like that. Or is Keith Urban the guy from American Idol? Doesn't matter. He made a racial slur. Doesn't matter if he said at Garth Brooks concert. But anyways, the point is, I think it has an interesting twist when you consider all the things that have happened in the last month with Paula Deen and George Zimmerman. So let's get into that one really quickly. So, like I said, if you are not aware, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Riley Cooper made a racial slur on video at a concert, a country concert they pointed out, for some reason, where he said he was intoxicated and he got into a verbal altercation with a security guard that happened to be of brown skin tone. And he said at some point after that with his child or some child nearby that he would get up and fight every N-word. It's like Sesame Street. The letter for today is N. He said he was going to get up and fight every N-word in the whole place. Of course, he used the full word. So, I found this fascinating for a couple of reasons. Number one, some people are calling it brutal that he said the word. It wasn't like he started executing people who were brown skin tone. He said a word. Does it show the quality of his character? I don't know. I don't know if it means he's a full-on racist or just an idiot. Or was intoxicated and was stupid. Michael Vick, who conceivably is not one of the nicest people in the world because he's abused dogs with the dog fights before, actually spoke out and said Riley came forward and apologized, and we as a team forgave him. Which, that's great. I didn't know he needed your forgiveness to move on with his life. Seems like he needs to forgive himself and look deeper down. And this happened on damn near 2 months ago. So, I find him apologizing, Riley Cooper, a little false in a way. Because if he wanted to really, repent for that poor behavior, he would have said something far before now. It wasn't until it came out in the media that he actually did that. But either way, his teammates have supported him and said, we forgave him as a team. And Michael Vick, who I was talking about a second ago, his brother said that he would give $1,000. He basically put a bounty on Riley's head saying, he would give $1,000 to any safety who basically took him out. I don't think he means murder them. I think he means crush them on the field. And Michael Vick said, my brother needs to analyze his ignorance just as much in that way. And he's right. Can't believe I'm agreeing with Michael Vick, but he's right. When you look at Michael Vick, I don't know what his level of... I know he was convicted and went to prison, and he's now back in the game again, but he's right about this. I'm not saying he's right to forgive Riley Cooper, because Riley Cooper doesn't need his forgiveness. He doesn't need anyone's forgiveness. He needs to deal with himself. Them saying it's okay, we forgive you, doesn't change who he is inside. He needs to change because he doesn't like what he said. And apologizing 2 months after the fact, because the video came out, doesn't convince me that he did it out of any other reason than to save face in the company, in his position. And he was fined and all that. Great, he's trying to ride out the storm. I don't agree when people say, man, that's brutal, he went over the line. No, he didn't. But word still exists in society, whether he is or is not racist, suggests he's just a moron with a poor control of his tongue when he's drunk. I don't know what else he does when he's drunk. Maybe he wets himself. I have no idea. But he was stupid. It doesn't suggest that he knows how to look at people for people. But how many times have people of other colors, when they were drunk, said, the C word about white people, or the S word, or the W word about Latino people, or the K word about Jewish people, you know what I mean? It's just, unfortunately, people do not know how to remove that from their psychology. But here's the thing, and this is what I was talking about, it leading and being connected to George Zimmerman and Paula Deen. Riley Cooper was caught on tape saying the N-word. Okay? Caught on tape. Paula Deen admitted in court at some point in her past she had used the N-word. We don't know the circumstances behind. Oh, I think it was because she was held at gunpoint by someone who happened to be brown-skinned. Well, I got news for you. I'm sure there are brown-skinned people, black if that's what you want to call it. I usually think of more as chocolate, but chocolate's cool. But anyways, if a chocolate person has been, or a brown person, has been held at gunpoint by someone who was white, and I'm sure they just thought just as much, and it can make an impact on how you see other people. Just like when you see a lot of gangbangers with certain identifying qualities. Maybe the hoodie is a part of it, like that preacher was talking about a few weeks ago. But it can make an impact on how you view other people like that may represent or be similar to that. So if you saw a white person, if you're a person with brown skin tone and you saw a white person, or pink person, whatever, who was wearing a hoodie and walking around, with sort of a gangster style or look to them, or, intimidating garb. If you encounter another person like that, wearing similar garb, whether you know or not if they're violent, because they may very well not be, this may just be the way they dressed, you're going to draw a conclusion if you've had a negative experience with someone like that before. So, my point with Paula Deen is, she was held at gunpoint by someone with brown skin tone. It's very possible that she held on to that because she was in fear for her life. But she wasn't caught on tape. And she admitted she did it in an open court. There was no reason for her to come out beforehand and say, I once used the N-word, because she didn't live her life thinking about it that way. It wasn't some thing she was like, I just want to come out and tell you, at some point I used the N-word. Riley Cooper was actually caught on tape, unless she's just too drunk to remember. In which case, that's even worse. He can't be aware of what's going on around him. But he actually said it on camera. Then we jumped to George Zimmerman, who was put on trial. Put on trial for his very freedom. Because the person he shot happened to be of brown skin tone. But never, ever did you ever hear George Zimmerman say the N-word. You've never heard him say the N-word. You heard people telling you, probably, I don't know if they did or not, I don't think anybody said that in the trial, that he had used the N-word. They just decided he was out to kill someone who was brown skin tone. But even when he called the cops, and he didn't know he was being recorded, you know, it's not like he called the cops planting this thing to say, okay, I'm planning to go kill this guy. So when I call the cops, I want to make sure I don't say he's of brown skin tone. I'm not going to say that at first. I'm going to hold that back so it makes me look innocent. If you have a desire